Hello and welcome on the Globe Total Transport program. It's such a pleasure to have you right here on the program today. Thank you very much for joining us today. Well, as you all know, all we do right here is update you on transportation issues in the transportation sector. We talk about aviation, we talk about marine, we talk about road, and of course, not to be left out is the railway. Thank you very much for joining us once again. My name is Oluwadami Lalaujo. As you all know, of course, I am your host on the program. Thank you very much for joining us. But before we go ahead today on the program, let's just go on a quick break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Still Out of Globe Total Transport program. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you're just joining us, you've not missed at all. We just started the program. My name is Oluwadami Lalaujo, and today we're talking about aviation sector in the transportation sector, which is really important. Now, aviation in any country is the live wire of every country's economy, and Nigeria is not an exception to this. Now, the question is Nigeria aviation on the path of revamping the nation's economy? Okay, well, no, the answer is not far-fetched at all, because now we have foreign airlines dominating the local and international routes that the indigenous airlines are supposed to fly each and every day. This and many more were discussed at the last annual 23rd Conference and Awards of LAC, which was held in Lagos, 17th July 2019. Aviation stakeholders, government representatives, and of course, people of all walks of life were there to bear their mind on the theme, which was boosting aviation investment through policy. And of course, we had several speakers at the conference to talk about different things in the aviation sector, talking about Dr. Harold Demure, who was heavily represented by Dr. Elda Benga Olo. And of course, we also had Captain Roland Iyayi. And of course, we also had the chairman of the occasion, who was Alhaji Munir Bankole, Managing Director, Medview Airlines. We have lots more to discuss, and of course we're going to go straight down to the conference and awards of the 23rd Annual Conference and Awards of LAC, which was held in Lagos State immediately right after this break. Stay with us.
Aviation industry is indispensable to the social economic development of any country, and Nigeria is not an exception. Therefore, it should be given proper attention it deserves. It is enlightening to inform this gathering that the first commercial flight into Nigeria was in 1935. Nevertheless, the actual commercial aviation flight activity in the country commenced over 57 years ago. With a lot of experiences and contribution of Nigerian Airways Limited, the country's national carrier, to the aviation development in the area of human and capital development cannot be overemphasized. My humble self, standing in front of you today, is a product of that national institution, and so some of us, our fathers, our uncles who are here today, just to mention a few of them, Captain Ogisi is here, with respect to you. Captain Press Pobeni is here, Prince Aligbe, and many of you are here. So in the early period of those glorious years of Nigeria Airways in existence, the airline was a national glory, carrying the country national flag, green, white, green, all over the continent, and making the citizen proud with well-trained and seasoned professionals handling their roles with dignity in the development of trade and businesses through the transportation. It's however unfortunate that politicization, overbearing governmental intervention, and policy inconsistency from the late 80s happened to be the bedrock of the beginning of the nosediving in the contribution of aviation industry to the economic development. So today, notwithstanding the challenges but within the industry, the strategic position of aviation industry to the stability and boosting of social, political economy of our nation cannot be overstressed. The industry has enhanced improvement of the efficiency of industry mobility and delivery of products and services. It has also derived investment both in and outside this country, and regions with the influence of foreigners coming to the country through tourism development. The sector has made important contribution to the economy through its impact on the performance of other sector growth, not to mention job creation for both skilled and unskilled workforce. Nigerian local carriers has not yet been able to measure up to the expectation of maximizing the country potential, despite over 200 million population of advantage, but which other foreign carriers are feasting on the detriment of domestic airline. The gestation period of decision of domestic carrier from the business, which within the average of 5 to 10 years, should be worrisome to the industry stakeholder as the myriad of identifiable causes have been seen as scarcity, high cost of aviation fuel, poor facility at our airport, obsolete infrastructures, multiple taxations, shortage of forests for the airline operators, multiple designation for the foreign carriers, and absence of maintenance, repair, and overhaul MRO facilities.
This is my kind of recommendation: policy, trust, and measurement. And all these policy, trust, and measurement are directed in these 9 areas: safety management, airport management, aircraft management. Let me talk about airport management. If there had been KPIs and necessary dashboard for managers of the airport, must we have the emergency we had in Abuja that we had to shut down for 6 months? It's because there are no indexes and we don't measure our civil servants. The guidelines are there, the standard operating practices are there, but we don't measure them. Key performance indexes and dashboard imperatives to achieve a particular objective. That has been our bane in this nation. So these 9 areas are key. We must have KPIs for them and dashboard for whoever is on top of a seat. If I take up FAN, I must assess what FAN is this year, 2019. Where am I going to take FAN in 2025? And somebody must ask me a question at the end of every year: how far have I gone? If I take up Director or Permanent Secretary in Aviation Ministry, how many airlines do I have? How healthy are they? I am having 4 strategic policy trusts. Number 1 policy trust that will drive investment is operational excellence. Number 2 is stakeholders satisfaction. Number 3, safety and security assurances. And number 4, regulatory effectiveness. These 4 trusts I'm going to quickly trash and give us recommended KPIs and imperative dashboard. That is the way to move forward with a serious, objective motivation in the land. Trust number 1, operational excellence. What do we mean by operational excellence? Enhancing efficient and effective service delivery. What are the objectives we are driving? Ensure effective infrastructure management and development, improved air connectivity, efficient human capacity, improved internal business process, and air traffic management. These are policies that will drive operational excellence. Somebody in the Ministry of Aviation has to sit on top of this and ensure that these policies are driven adequately. That is the way we can drive investment. Thrust number 2, stakeholder satisfaction. Who are these stakeholders? Let us look at MMA. Government is a stakeholder running airports. Bicotny is one. How satisfied is government with that airport? And how satisfied is Bicotny with his airport? They are stakeholders. Let us look at airlines. Our guy is running airline. Alhaji Bankole, I think Allen is there, that's Allen Airpeace. They are stakeholders in the airline sector. How satisfied are stakeholders? Policies must address stakeholders' satisfaction. Objectives of government should be ensuring premium stakeholders' experience at all times. Improved communication. When he talks to me, I must listen and prefer answer. I mustn't see him as an obstruction of my table. Our people in government, when they see stakeholders, they see them as obstruction or an interruption of their business. The KPIs to measure stakeholder satisfaction is here. Number of complaints, number of stakeholders complain. Government is responsible to ensure that policy addresses stakeholders' satisfaction. Trust number 3, safety, security, assurance. We know a lot about this, safety, 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 safety. I hope there is safety. Regulatory effectiveness. Those are the objectives to drive and KPIs to measure. We must run our nation, our businesses with objectives. Watch my lips, objectives and KPIs. Let's get objective and let's drive objectivity. That is the essence of government perspective in driving aviation business.
There are 31 airports in this country, about 16 airstrips, 31. But between Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, we have 80% of the total air traffic in this country. 80. Now, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has 2 remits. We need to understand that. One is the safety oversight of industry. The second remit, which has a precarious balance with the first, is the development of the industry. How do you do both? What we have seen with the CAA is a consistent focus on regulation, safety oversight. And to a large extent, the airline industry is being overregulated, and I repeat, overregulated to the point of extinction. I would cite examples. Now, if you have a situation where the CAA doesn't bother about the fact that airlines are destroying themselves by predatory pricing and overcapacity, then it is a problem. So we need to look at it. In Ghana, there are 5 airlines that are registered, licensed as scheduled operators. I went to Ghana to register an airline, and I was clearly told, we cannot allow you to be a scheduled operator simply because we have a finite size of a market. We have 5 airlines we believe have enough capacity for this market. Until one airline fails, we cannot allow anybody else in. But if you ask the CAA, I was on TV this morning incidentally, and the DGMCA was on the same program. And we were talking about this sort of issues of problems with Nigerian carriers, multiple designations and all the rest of it. And his attitude, I'm sorry to say, was not very, very convincing. He said that where the airlines go to is their business. We cannot regulate that. I disagree. Your remit is to make sure the airlines survive. We've heard all sorts of excuses given that, oh, the reason airlines don't survive is that it's a one-man syndrome. The man operates the airline, there's no corporate governance, all sorts of silly things. If you have your money to invest and you put it in an airline, nobody will tell you that you're a single owner. You get the money. But the point is, how do you support people who are investing their hard-earned money in the business? And that is where policy comes in. So when you have an airline coming in that the CAA at the point of licensing was meant to have asked and done a due diligence on their business case and have refused to do that because they say, well, it is not our business, then airlines are doomed to fail. And that failure will continue in Nigeria until we wake up to realize that the duty of ensuring success in the business starts from the CAA.
So let me outline my own vision for the Nigerian aviation industry. Vision 2030. I will focus on just 3 areas: an enabling environment, airlines, and infrastructure. So let me quickly start with an enabling environment. By 2030, the federal government of Nigeria will have adopted the business models of Singapore, Dubai, and Ethiopia by seriously embracing aviation as a strategic tool for economic and social development. There will be 0 import duties on aircraft, engines, and spare parts. VAT, as promised, will have been removed. Bilateral air service agreements, BASA, with non-African states will have been reviewed on the basis of reciprocity, as access to the Nigerian aviation market has an economic value and should be not given away free of charge. 2, airlines. By 2030, Nigeria will have 2 airlines operating regular scheduled services on intercontinental, regional, and domestic routes. One will have a minority government stake, and the other will be totally private sector driven. Each airline will have a fleet of 20 to 40 modern aircraft. One will be a member of a global airline alliance. 4 or 5 smaller carriers, each with 5 to 10 aircraft, will provide niche services such as domestic routes, regional routes, or cargo operations. One Nigerian airline has the opportunity to become Africa's established Hajj operator. The government and AMCON will have at last taken the necessary tough steps to resolve the receivership impasse at Arik Air and Aero Contractors so that they are no longer in limbo. Arik Air inherited 17 acres of airside and landside land owned by Nigeria Airways. Today, that facility, in my vision, would be the cradle for the new national carrier. But how do we get to that position? The government has to bite the bullet. We cannot have 2 airlines in limbo for much longer. By 2030, in my vision, Nigerian carriers will be maximizing the benefits of the single African air transport market, SATM, through regional growth and win-win partnerships. Number 3, aviation infrastructure. By 2030, a new, modern Murtala Mohammed International Airport will have been built, and the previous building torn down as it is no longer fit for purpose. The new airport will have 3 runways and will be a leading hub in Africa with seamless connectivity. I repeat, seamless connectivity for domestic and international flights, unlike today. The structural and planning problems at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, where you build a new terminal and it's blocking the tower, should have never happened. all of those problems will be rectified. The airport will have 2 runways to boost connectivity. By 2030, Nigeria's airports will have been concessioned in a transparent, very transparent manner, and will be run efficiently and profitably. By 2030, a well-run Nigerian aviation industry in which loans and leases are repaid on time, and there should be no financial leakage. This will attract more financing for the Nigerian aviation industry at a lower cost.
We've heard different speech from different speakers at the 23rd Annual Conference and Awards of the League Airports and Aviation Correspondents. A lot of activities went down at the conference and award, one which was the unveiling of the LAC Journal Travel Watch. Of course, get yourself one so that you can get updated on aviation issues in Nigeria and across the world. And of course, we also had representation of awards to corporate and individual recipient at the event for their outstanding performance in the Nigerian aviation sub-sector. And of course, not to forget the fact that we had interview with the League Airports and Aviation Correspondent as chairman of this association. He had a lot to speak about. We're talking about Olusegun Koiki. Let's listen to what he has to say, and we'll be right back with us. Thank you very much for joining us today on Also Globe Total Transport Program. And of course, it was the LAC 23rd Annual Conference and Awards, which was held in Lagos recently on the 17th July 2019. A lot of issues was raised and of course trashed out at the conference of the League of Aviation and Airport Correspondents 23rd Annual Conference and Awards. Thank you very much for watching today. My name is Oluwa Damilola Ojo. Make sure you drive safe and remember that safety is the #1 key to living life.
The theme for the annual conference of the League of Airport and Aviation Correspondents is boosting investment through policy. We discovered that in the Nigerian aviation industry, airlines have come and gone. And when you talk to some of these airline operators, they will tell you several stories that don't actually boost investment in the sector. So in order to address some of their challenges, the League of Airport and Aviation Correspondents felt that as one of the stakeholders in the sector, it is good to bring all the stakeholders together, bring people from the airline industry, from the government perspective. Let them come and talk about the challenges that the operators are facing and how these challenges can be tackled. If airlines outside the country are making it big, we have Ethiopian Airlines that is penetrating into 5 airports in Nigeria. If they can do it well, if we have British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, Egypt Air, Ethiopian Airlines, if they are doing it well, how were they doing it in their side? Have they been able to do it and make sure that right things are done in the right perspective? Is it through policy? If it is policy, what are those policy gaps that Nigeria has that is militating development in the industry? Nobody wants the industry to collapse. Without the airlines, there is nobody that can fly. So that was actually what necessitated the theme for the 2019 conference.
Thank you very much for watching today. My name is Oluwa Damilola Ojo. Make sure you drive safe and remember that safety is the #1 key to living life. Thank you.